In the summer of 1942, the German Army High Command launched Operation Blue, a massive and highly ambitious strategic offensive across the southern sector of the Eastern Front. This campaign was designed to deliver a decisive war-winning blow by driving deep into the Don and Kuban regions to capture the vast petroleum resources of the Caucasus. These southern oil fields, centered around the industrial hubs of Baku, Grozny, and Maikop, were the absolute lifeblood of the Soviet Union. Historically, they supplied over 80% of the entire oil and fuel consumption for the Red Army's tank divisions and the agricultural tractor fleets, making them the ultimate strategic center of gravity. As initial armored advances achieved rapid, spectacular breakthroughs across the open steppes, Adolf Hitler became fatally distracted by secondary symbolic objectives. In July, he issued the highly controversial Führer Directive Number 45, which split his advancing forces into two divergent, widely separated army groups, fatally dividing their strategic focus. Under this new directive, Army Group A continued its drive into the Caucasus, while General Friedrich Paulus's Sixth Army was directed to launch a direct, high-intensity assault on Stalingrad. This fateful decision funneled Germany's finest motorized divisions directly into a catastrophic street-by-street battle of attrition inside the ruined factories of the city. As the German advance slowed to a crawl in the industrial suburbs, prominent commanders like General Franz Halder and General Ewald von Kleist openly protested. They argued that the Wehrmacht was wasting its precious armored mobility and elite motorized infantry in a static, low-yield urban struggle that played directly into Soviet hands. These generals advocated for a highly sophisticated, mobile operational alternative that was actively debated in the summer of 1942. Rather than attacking the concrete ruins of Stalingrad directly, the German High Command could have executed a sweeping deep maneuver to bypass the city completely to the south and east. The ultimate strategic objective of this sweeping, high-speed bypass was the historic port city of Astrakhan. Situated at the mouth of the Volga River on the northern coast of the Caspian Sea, Astrakhan represented the ultimate logistical bottleneck through which the resources of the southern Soviet Union flowed northward. To execute this daring pivot, the Wehrmacht would have established a highly fortified static defensive screening line along the Volga Hills, southwest of Stalingrad. This high ground would act as an easily defensible barrier, blocking any Soviet counterattacks from the north and securing the flank of the main advance. Establishing this defensive screening line would have freed up General Hermann Hoth's 4th Panzer Army and several highly cohesive motorized infantry divisions. Instead of being ground down in the streets of Stalingrad, these mobile forces would be concentrated for a rapid sweeping drive across the open desert. These elite armored spearheads, operating in close coordination with General von Kleist's 1st Panzer Army, would pivot rapidly northeast from their staging areas. They would launch a high-speed offensive across the vast, empty expanses of the Kalmyk Steppe, catching the weak Soviet defensive garrisons completely off guard. The Kalmyk Steppe, a massive and arid semi-desert basin stretching between the Don River and the Caspian Sea, presented an extraordinary environmental challenge. Characterized by extreme summer heat, severe water shortages, and blinding sandstorms, the region threatened to inflict severe mechanical wear on the advancing Panzer regiments. To overcome these harsh conditions, the German logistics staff planned meticulous, specialized preparations. These measures included the deployment of dedicated water tanker columns, advanced fuel filtration systems to combat the abrasive desert dust, and specialized mobile maintenance workshops to keep the tank engines running. Navigating the roadless, trackless wilderness of the steppe required advanced navigational techniques and close cooperation with the air arm. Utilizing specialized sun compasses and aerial reconnaissance from the Luftwaffe's 4th Air Fleet, German navigation teams would guide the panzer columns along ancient caravan routes toward their objective. Despite the environmental hazards, the open, flat terrain of the steppe was the ultimate playground for the German doctrine of high-speed armored warfare. With no mountains, dense forests, or major river barriers to obstruct their path, the panzer divisions could advance in massive broad formations at maximum speed. Defending this vast barren sector was the understrength Soviet 28th Army, which consisted of raw, undertrained infantry divisions and localized worker militias. Tasked with guarding a massive front line stretching over 200 miles, it was completely impossible for them to check a concentrated armored breakthrough. Supported by the precision close air support of General Wolfram von Richthofen's 8th Air Corps, the German armored spearheads would rapidly slice through the thin Soviet screen. They would capture the critical railway junctions at Elista before driving inexorably eastward towards the western suburbs of Astrakhan. The city of Astrakhan, although historically a major industrial and administrative center, possessed weak, localized fortifications and lacked any heavy artillery. A sudden, coordinated, combined arms assault would have rapidly overwhelmed the disorganized Soviet defenders, granting the Wehrmacht complete and undisputed control of the crucial Volga River Delta. Capturing the Volga Delta and establishing a heavily fortified defensive block across the river shipping lanes would have had devastating strategic consequences. The Volga River was the ultimate, irreplaceable transportation highway of the Soviet Union, acting as the primary logistical pipeline sustaining the entire nation. Historically, over 80% of the entire oil output of the Baku fields was transported by a massive fleet of riverine tankers and barges from the Caspian Sea up the Volga River. This oil flowed through Astrakhan to the central refineries and industrial complexes in Moscow, Gorky, and Saratov. In addition to the domestic oil pipeline, the Caspian-Volga shipping corridor was the backbone of the southern Lend-Lease route from the Western Allies. Through this channel, millions of tons of high-grade military cargo, including fighter planes, heavy trucks, and aviation fuel, were shipped from Iran directly to Moscow. By placing heavy artillery, minefields, and riverine gunboats across the mouth of the Volga, the Wehrmacht would have completely severed this vital logistical artery. Without a constant flow of Baku's oil and Allied high-octane fuel, the Red Army's vast mechanized forces would fall into complete fuel paralysis. Historically, the German Sixth Army was encircled and destroyed inside Stalingrad, unhinging the southern front and turning the tide of the war. This catastrophic defeat was the direct result of prioritizing the physical possession of ruined streets over the strategic interdiction of the enemy's logistical lifelines. The Astrakhan Pivot would have achieved the primary strategic goal of Case Blue, blocking Soviet oil logistics without sacrificing an entire field army. By utilizing their armored mobility across the Kalmyk Steppe, the Germans could have established a far more secure, defensible front line along the Volga River. This operational bypass was the strategic detour that never came, leaving the Volga pipeline open and sealing the ultimate defeat of Case Blue. The missed opportunity of Astrakhan remains a classic proof of the absolute supremacy of strategic logistics and physical interdiction over simple tactical aggression.